You know, and for me, there were no hard feelings. It was like, you know what? We were in a situation where whatever decision we would have made, it would have put us on our toes to say, let's go look for the next person then. We already have, so who else can we get? Obviously,
but let's be honest, like, who are you gonna find?
I was about to say that, like
who?
But that's the point. That's the same fight we're fighting with mainstream media. Go search for young talent. Go search for people. I don't find Junior if I'm not reading articles at Laduma and see the engagement.
Yo, welcome to it. The SM boys are back and we're with a special guest today. One of the goats of YouTube. You are like running shit, bro. You've been running shit for over a year plus.
I'm not a goat. No.
What would you say you are, though?
I don't know what the fuck I am. I'm not interested in what I am, dude. Like, yeah, we're doing dope work though. Like, we're making an impact. And yeah, we're kicking ass on the YouTube space. Shout out to Mac G. You are fucking kicking our asses every single week. All of us.
On their neck.
Everything, SA Music, iDiski TV. All of us, you're fucking kicking our ass. Well done to you.
The king.
Yeah, and I remember as well when he was under pressure. You remember with the homophobic you know, comments and stuff like that.
We knew that was gonna pass.
Yeah, and at the time I deliberately shot one of the videos and I said at the beginning of my videos that I support him, I'm with him, because I didn't think that at the time that there was anything, you know, malicious about it. It's like, yo, you're describing someone who is transgender. In simple, plain language, without sounding like a medical student, you would say it's a nigger who chopped off his dick and became a woman. You know, there's nothing malicious. Of course, we couldn't be taught about saying it better by the community, but don't take people's bread, bro. Like, don't take people's bread.
Sure.
Don't threaten people's bread. Studio 88 mustn't pull out. Sandler mustn't pull out. You know what I'm saying? We're trying our best here. Yeah, but
do you understand like their side when they get mad? Like it's they enrage. Like, do you understand why
irrational.
They would?
No, I think bullying.
It's a moment for them to educate people.
Absolutely,
you know? Because it's not like we all talk about this.
Exactly. We don't understand the lexicon. We're not part of the community. I'm from a place called KTC. There are things that I say that is only understood by those people who are mostly gangsters, who mostly shoot people. And I can't assume that everyone in this country will understand that language. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was bullying. And people don't go for people's bread. Educate.
I think it's like cancel culture.
That's what I'm saying.
Since like 2015, 2014, I don't know. People have become sensitive on the internet to a point where if you say something wrong, then we're gonna try and take you out. We wanna see you down.
I think it's more visible. It's been there for a while.
Let me ask the question then. What do you get from taking his bread? What do you get from if it wasn't
for them? It's proving a point,
but then it hinders the industry and everybody involved, because he was the one that has the biggest podcast at the moment. Like, if you take down the biggest podcast, bro, what about
who says they want it to grow? Who says they want them actually?
It's for the benefit of the whole country. Anybody,
it's against mainstream media, if you look at it.
Do you know that the unwitting thing that happens, the dumbest thing that happens in that group behavior is that they don't understand digital media. The minute that happened, Mac G's views and subscribers grew exponentially, because here's what happens.
Crazy. He was getting like 4K a day, though.
Here's what happens. When there is a story about Uriah Khopane, or any of us, people start checking on YouTube who is Ria Khopane.
Most definitely.
And naturally what happens in digital media is that there is a footprint that exists on Google where the algorithm works like that. Okay, there are people that are searching for this name, and therefore we are going to suggest their videos to people who are like-minded. And as a result of that, you grow exponentially. So shout out to the LGBTQ community, QI community, for unwittingly increasing blowing up on MacG. But don't go for people's bread. We're trying to get into SABC. There are people that are closing gates for us. We are opening up our channels to try and work things out here and express our creativity. And sometimes we make mistakes. And even these young niggas here made their mistakes. And this is how we're gonna learn as well. You know, but I'm happy,
crazy,
man.
It's like they want people to be like perfect, you know?
No, you
like
can't.
You are not supposed to learn just like on your journey.
No.
I feel like the more mistakes that I make early on, the more that when I get older, I will know, okay. Like, you know, like I want to do all my mistakes right now while it's still early on.
Me, I'm saying, I remember when Nkululeko came through, when he found out about like that whole thing with Scoop. He was like, no, bro. No, you can't do that. You can't reveal your sources. I was just like,
that was journalistic advice.
Nkululeko has always been like a big brother to us. For those who don't know, like we've been knowing you for a year now. Since last year.
Since you're in Joburg.
Like we actually saw your channel like start from the beginning, kind of blow up.
Yeah, remember when your situation with the Queen Bee happened?
Yeah.
My initial, because I'm a journalist, my initial instinct off air, because I would never say it on air and everywhere else, I supported the two of you because I understood what was happening. You know, I understand the growth and the mistakes that you guys are going to make naturally.
Yeah.
But off air, I was like, oh shit, you don't reveal your sources.
You
don't do that. You speak in fluffy language, but you're not being specific.
I think everybody
you say allegedly, you know, type of thing. But maybe let's zoom into that. How did that like affect you around the time without going too much into it? How did it affect you at the time? Because everyone was like, who is this Ria guy? And here, go for it, Bonang. $500,000. I knew you were not gonna pay $500,000 for that shit.
Fucking $500,000.
Yeah, you don't have. Even if you had it, even if you had it, you would pay a lawyer for $30,000 to fight that case for you. But at the time, how did it affect you?
To be honest with you, like I was trying to ride the wave. I was trying to enjoy it because I knew that okay, all the attention is on me now. But I wasn't as scared as the people that were around me were. So like it was mainly the people around me that were like, you need to apologize. You know, we don't want to have a mad. I was like, yo, I'm loving this, dog.
I feel
it's great for me. And then everybody was like the people that are like mostly influential in my life. They were like, yo, bro, the best way is to just apologize. And I think when I did the apology, that's when it kind of turned like, okay, now you're folding. You know what I mean? Sure. If I stood on it and I was like, yo, I said what I said, but then I was kind of like pushed to apologize, you know. I didn't want to apologize. I said it in an interview that we did with City Press newspaper. I was like, bro, they called me a week before that saying apologize. I was like, fuck no.
Yeah, I think the weird part about it is that there were other parties involved. Number one, you have to consider Steph.
Exactly. It's a team thing now.
And also, you have to consider Scooter McCartney. Both process.
He pulled up on us. He pulled up on us. While that whole thing, you were there. You're like, aren't you famous? You're walking. You're like, aren't you famous? That's when he was like talking. That was before the whole Bonang thing.
I remember there was tension.
It was such the tension in the room.
You know, he pulled up and he said, with half his face on the door, like, I'm like, yo, what's up? It's like, you tell me.
You tell me what's up, yeah. You couldn't even see his body, it was just his face. And I'm trying to look, because I'm kind of far away. I'm the desk behind. Sure. I'm looking, I'm like, is that, as soon as he walks in, I'm like, holy shit, it's him. I go to him, I act like nothing is wrong. I'm like, yo, Scoop, what's going on? And you could feel that, like, yo.
So like essentially, like you had to consider the other parties. When I Steph, I know you would have been pissed off by his reluctance to apologize at the time. What were the conversations between you and him?
First of all, I told him, yo, dog, like, I knew that some of how we delivered it could have been better.
Yeah.
So I told him, yeah, no, okay. Okay, we now here. Even the first time when we agreed upon all of us, like, okay, how are we going to take this? How are we going to take this forward? We all went in head on. That's how we went in. And then when it came to the point where we were getting backlash, I was like, okay, fine. So now we're apologizing. And you can't go the next day and post, hey, Bonang, why are you? And dog, I was like, hey, man. Dog, I called him. I'm like, dog, how can we say we're mending things and then tomorrow you post that thing? I was like, no, man. I was like, even I gave him that, a long paragraph, like, man, if this is how you want to approach things, it's fine, dog. I'll just go my own way. You do your own thing.
Sure.
Yeah, it must have been strenuous, though. One thing, like, for me, that I did publicly, and I spoke about it, and I said, look, the reason you I, him, and all of us in digital media, partially the reason why we exist is because of Bonang and Somizi Mhlongo and any of those super celebrities. And now let me expand on that point. These people are super celebrities.
Yeah.
They cannibalize every job in media. They are hosts, they are MCs, they are musicians, they are actresses, and they are on radio at the same time.
Every single role.
Now, young kids, but in Boston Media College, for example, it churns out thousands of media students every year who cannot be able to enter spaces because of super celebrities like Bonang, Somizi Mhlongo, and everyone else that you can think of. I'm not directly speaking to them. I'm speaking about the idea mostly. And as a result of that, those kids cannot be able to access spaces at SABC and everywhere else in media because it's super celebrities that are given first preferences.
Sure.
Now, and as I was trying to say to the audience as well, I said, as a result of this, these young kids are going to have to go on digital media, which is YouTube or any podcast. Now, when they go there, imagine this, you guys are a little bit older, but imagine this, that you have 18-year-olds talking about topics. They are bound to make mistakes in the process of them growing.
Exactly.
You are bound to make journalistic mistakes. You are bound to use words that you should not be using. You are bound to say things that are unfortunate because no one is fully matured and formed when they are 18, when they are 22, when even they are 25 years old. Now, where this comes in with Bonang or Somizi Mhlongo is that if you were at SABC, the opportunity that you guys are deprived of, you would have had an opportunity for apprenticeship. What that means is that SABC would have groomed you first. They would never thrust you in front of a microphone before training you properly. And you would have had seniors around you at the time. So this that is happening and Bonang suing people is a creation of her own doing, unwittingly, of course. She's not going out there to look for people.
They closed the gates, so now we're doing it by ourselves.
But
Exactly.
think
So
about
we
it
have
though.
our own
It's like, what if
voices.
they also a result of that? So their careers only blew up, not in their 20s, in their late 30s, and then they only at the position they want to be in their 40s. By that time, you need to give it up to a younger person.
But isn't that how South Africa is? Though people just don't want to move out of their seats. They want to take everything.
Because they make it
so factually about this specific two, Somizi Mhlongo and Bonang. That's not the case. Bonang was maybe
she was like
in
17,
her early 20s or
days,
when
like
she was young enough.
Early,
Unathi Msengana, she's on Idols and she's a musician and she's also on Kaya FM. The first time I saw her was maybe 14 or 13 on Castle Loud. She was doing a show with Stone Theatre at the time. They were presenting a music show. They were young enough. Somizi Mhlongo, I saw him on Molo Fish and
speaking some funny English.
Exactly.
Sure.
So you would have seen those people had an opportunity to have apprenticeship and gain experience. So that excuse does not apply to them. And I have no interest fighting them. I'm not fighting them. We're kicking ass in our spaces at iDiski TV. I'm just making an observation about the industry that I'm in, that there will be young kids who say some stupid shit sometimes as a result of not being able to be in an environment where they can be groomed and they can be trained before you step up to the microphone. Imagine, my daughter is 9 years old. When she's 13, she wants to create content. What the fuck is going to come out of her mouth? Like, seriously, what the fuck is going to come out of her mouth?
It also gives us like a bit of freedom to express ourselves. You're not limited.
You're going to make mistakes though.
Of course.
And you need like
all that freedom.
in the space. The digital space. Exactly. And I think that's what he's like actually trying to say, Oguti. Because this is a digital space. It's so new. You know what I'm saying? And they basically kind of in the forefront of it. He was expecting better.
Yeah, but and also the audience must be patient.
Sure. The audience has to be patient.
Imagine, I sue them when I was fighting people and I shouldn't have been doing that because I'm in a better place in my life. I shouldn't have been fighting people who don't know anything about this industry. But sue them, Bonang. So I'm like, fuck you. They're not gonna pay $500,000. It was wrong.
They haven't even paid a cent.
It was wrong. It was wrong. But they're not going to fucking pay for... You have to be able to think broadly about things. And I'm not saying this because I'm your friends, because you guys are my friends. But at the same time, I have to be able to look at it broadly to say, look, the reason why we are here is because you guys should have been presenters at Massiv Metro, for example, the radio station that you guys come from, but you're not because of the gatekeeping and this thing of brands looking for people who are ready-made. For example, if Junior Khanyi does not exist, if myself and Jason had folded our arms and said, who is currently popping in the space of analysis? We then go for Jabu Mahlangu, who's already an analyst, or Dr. Kumalo,
I was going to ask you, like, since Jabu was already right there to, why did he not end up getting on iDiski TV?
That's because that was my initial attitude when I came.
He was already on TV.
He was already on TV. He was already on radio. Yeah. But my attitude when I came here is that I also have gates closed on me. So the last people I want to talk to are the people that are already having their bread.
Which are benefiting from it.
Yeah. But like, then if you think about it, if Junior Khanyi was on like TV, would they allow him to say all the stuff about Kaizer Chiefs? You know, they try to protect Kaizer Chiefs as a brand. He wouldn't be able to get it off like that, you know, which is why it's special for the internet to be able so you guys can build a business.
They would not. We've had so many fights with brands. I'm being journalistic now. I don't want to mention names, but people that generally use analysts, you would think about it. People that are showing matches, or both of them. There are two major ones that show matches. You know, we've had fights.
But then the weird part is that he's just given the truth.
That's the thing.
Like even Miawa probably was given the truth.
But you know how
what I mean?
the truth is in this game.
You try to push it.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that Junior Khanyi, he's telling you the reality, you know, irreality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The thing is, it would only work up to a certain extent because, for example, I don't give a fuck. I don't answer to anyone other than my business partners. And I don't answer to them as well. I tell them that this is a landscape that I'm a master of, so don't worry about it. That's how we diffuse situations. There are people. That phone has like over 3,000 messages. The phone one of my phones that I have, that we put out there in the public for iDiski TV conversations, and we get voice notes and stuff like that. That it has over 3,000 messages, and some of the messages are complaints about him that he needs to be fired. But that will never happen.
He's carrying it on his shoulders. So what do you mean?
I bring up this to say that if it was happening on SABC or SuperSport,
same time,
imagine it would be on a larger scale. So not 3,000 messages, it would be 300,000 messages, and they would feel the public pressure to want to have to deal with it.
Because there's even like a BBC,
absolutely.
But now
there's nothing, technically, there's no gratuitous violence, there's no explicit sexual images or anything. There's nothing that would make BCCSA to come in and step in there.
They can't regulate internet media, they must relax. They must just let us make mistakes and learn. But even Junior Khanyi used to say that like, I'm getting DMs and messages from people in Mpumalanga saying they're going to shoot me because I'm talking about Kaizer Chiefs taking L's every game, dog.
And they were taking L's. That's the honesty.
From
all over the country.
All over
the country. One of the biggest challenges that we'll have after COVID actually happened at the right time.
It helped you guys. Back to stadiums. Like, you guys used to go to stadiums.
Now you're now 15 bodyguards.
Yeah. That's one option. Or the second option is not to go to this. I will go to the stadiums to interview fans and let the guys in the studio be interviewed. Maybe I will hire someone to interview them.
But example, you know what's crazy?
That's one of the strategies.
I've seen like people not liking you too in the comments. Like Nkululeko, you can't tell. He's always trolling. He's always laughing. Yeah. You know, I've seen. How do you feel about those comments? Do you feel safe going out to stadiums and all that? Because you're famous now. Bro.
Nah, I feel I'm good. Like I'm from the township. I don't give a fuck. Like,
you from KZN? Like, you from Khayelitsha,
it's close to Khayelitsha. It's called
close to Khayelitsha. That's where it's the real one.
That's what you see on the news.
It's not like I'm trying to invite the negative energy.
No, I'm just joking.
But I'm good. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I cannot do anything about how people react to our content. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of the negative byproducts of what we're doing. You need the comments. Like sometimes the way that I would structure questions or the way that I would start videos is with the idea in mind to get a reaction. When you get a reaction, you push up your algorithm. When you push up your algorithm, you get your video from 50,000 to get to 100,000. But you must know that what you are doing will come with people that don't like it. Like I've used the word fuck in this interview in the first 30 minutes, and I know that comes with automatically 20 comments. People are pissed off about the language that I'm using.
But I remember there was a video where you put on glasses and you guys were drinking end of New Year's. I was like, yo, this channel is too late, dog.
And I don't even drink alcohol. I don't even drink. There was Coca-Cola, and that was my first ever, or the second ever time I'd ever worn sunglasses. I don't wear sunglasses. I had worn it in a match against for Chiefs in CAF Champions League and those New Year videos. second time. And then the third time is like maybe in a casual environment when I'm with someone that I love or something like that. But I don't wear sunglasses at all. But the people there, some people were like, we're watching this content with our kids. You're now promoting the consumption of you're promoting the consumption of alcohol. I don't drink alcohol.
The league shies with the black label there the whole time.
Yeah, well, but I don't drink alcohol. But I did that deliberately. I knew what I was gonna do. Sometimes when Sundowns won the league this season, I went there with a cigar and something, something like that. You know, so you do those things deliberately because you understand digital media.
You have fun with your channel as much as you can keep it serious.
Yeah,
you also know it's about Drizzy. Hey, Stevie.
You know Drizzy.
You guys have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And Steezy's Justice, ne?
Yeah, Steezy's Justice. Yeah.
So Drizzy is offensive high. You guys would know him.
Override, because,
you know. Yeah, MC is an MC.
The man that controls the hype.
Yeah. So when I came to Joburg to work for Massiv Metro, because I'm a radio person in the first place, I saw him offensive high. I saw what he can do. And I was like, okay, whenever I start something and I like his attitude as well, I'm like, okay, I would work with him. I'm always scouting for talent wherever I am. With Justice, the first ever video I shot was with him, which is Steezy, Justice Chabalala.
Yeah.
He's a videographer. And I've gone to him with in Free State, Welcome, Klexdorp. I've gone with him all over the country when we were starting the channel. I just told him, Steezy! I told him, I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do this. All I need from you is your attitude. If you know how to drive me. And then your videography skills. And that's it. Like, he had a good attitude. And for me, like, because I'm from Cape Town and I picked up the negative attitude from niggas from Joburg, it's like, it's their natural demeanor. But I know that when you're not used to it, you can pick it up. Oh, shit. These niggas speak like this. They only respect you when they know that you are famous and stuff like that. You know, so I only gravitated towards people who were respectful neutrally. That you don't have to first prove that you are a celebrity. You know, so those two, I would probably have worked with you too as well, because I could pick up there was a good vibe and you guys were driven at the time. But that's the reason why.
I mean, you gave us like a lot of advice coming up.
Absolutely.
And like we used to just like guide us in a way, you know.
Absolutely, and
because we were looking at you like right next to us, like doing amazing shit.
It's an easy thing to do, to share information, because I'm excited about digital media. I'm excited to see where he can go. I'm excited with Mac G going to Channel O. And there will be backlash, and he can always bounce back and go back to
the audience is always there.
Absolutely, like I'm excited by where this thing could go. When you guys were like on your first 1,000 subscribers, I was like, okay, cool, interesting. On to the next one then, and then 5,000. Where are you guys now at? 6 or 7?
8
something. You see, so the next one is 10,000. I'm excited to see then from 10. Converting that to 50 to 100,000, and the conversation that we guys can have about, oh shit, you guys were on 1,000 and you were panicking and you were shooting in the same studio that we were shooting iDiski TV at the time.
We actually used to say it here, that's the same TV that you guys shoot at, the first 4 episodes that we shot.
Sometimes even our intro starts is, we are not here to disrupt South African music, we're here to fix
it. Sure.
You see, so I was excited by seeing this. I just want to see more things happening, man. I think millionaires can be created from this space, and I think that it's interesting where all of us could take what we are doing at the moment, but it requires us to be serious about what we're doing. You need to shoot content. I remember I used to fight with you guys that why is it that the next video is 3 weeks apart?
That's when we were still doing interviews.
That was time.
We sometimes a month used to pass by without dropping. We're like, yo, we need to start this pod. We're just the two of us. We don't have to rely on anybody. The artists are telling us that in
Mpumalanga on the day of the interview, like how?
That means I don't know Kumshalele. What the fuck did you guys do to Kumshalele?
Oh, Focalistic. I don't know.
You can rest it on.
Say hi.
You
can rest it on.
We didn't do anything to him. He was just,
okay, what happened?
He was just jumping into something that didn't involve him.
You know what happened? Let me tell you.
It was the whole Bonang thing.
It was the whole Bonang thing. You know, listen, I get it. Everybody has a voice. You wanna jump on the
you get it hard, because you know
I get that. But then he went on live. He was the only artist out of the whole entire fucking game.
No, but there was a lot of people. Our Oscar, our MC,
but they were joking, dog. They were not that serious. He went on live and he was serious. Like, yeah, Bonang Basu. Like, I like the Sobering podcast. I don't like everything. I don't know what they're talking about, those two boys. It sounded personal.
No.
It sounded
when he got personal when they talked about his dreads.
Yeah, he's like, you see the day he didn't do his dress properly.
Like, yeah, I headed it up. It sounds like it's 5 million. Like, so we're 5 million. I'm like,
so when I said that, I'm like, nah, fuck this guy.
Honestly, have you ever requested an interview from him before?
Yeah, no, you know what happened?
Yeah, we actually did.
We spoke to the management approached once. They invited us to a listening session for Scoops's Excellence. We pulled up. We spoke about interview. I think that's when McG went through that whole
Mengele.
Before the Mengele.
Yeah, because he asked
it was
also,
also, remember there was the whole LGBTQ thing that happened. So I think some people are pulling back the interview.
It was Focalistic
and
only
also,
that pulled it out.
Java also pulled.
No, but Java was way before that. It wasn't
but then I'm just saying, you see, so he pulled out. They had things going internally, but externally looked like he was pulling out because of that whole thing that happened.
Sure.
And then when it came to us, they were giving us like days and okay, maybe next week, maybe. Then I realized he's not trying to do any more interviews,
Yeah. And then it's crazy. We're doing like a JazziQ interview, right? And then Focalistic pulls up to Junk Park. And then all of a sudden, after the interview is done, JazziQ sends a message, I don't want this interview to be up anymore. Right after we shoot it, like we came with petrol here, like we did a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's Focalistic that just, as soon as he pulled up, JazziQ was like, I don't want to do it. Because as soon as we got there, JazziQ was like, you guys are not like McG, because they were hating McG for some reason at that time. He said, you guys are not like McG. We're like, no, we're not. We just want to shoot this. No,
it's like you guys have a McG setup. Are you guys like,
Are you guys like McG? Nah.
Yeah, but I think you guys, just to conclude that part, the reason why I asked this is because I think there are lessons to be learned because you guys are still crawling in the industry. And I think that it's a symbiotic relationship, that it's a reciprocal relationship where you need them and they need you as well.
Definitely.
I remember when I was starting up as a journalist where I've interviewed around 1,000 people in football, players, coaches, but there was a beginning. Maybe my first 200, when I was working for Laduma, someone asks you who you are and they tell you to call them back tomorrow. When you call them back tomorrow, they tell you about the other day. And then when they started seeing that you're popping, you're winning awards and shit like that, they start to respect you a little bit more. I don't like it. I don't like that you have to respect me because I'm doing those things. But how do you think the resolution will be then in that instance? Are you guys on your lane and Focalistic is on his lane?
No, we do cover him because he's very big. That's the thing too. He's an international. He's one of the biggest artists in the game.
We don't want to put like our personal feelings about somebody into like what we do.
Do you think it's possible to have this kind of engagement? Like I'm here now with you guys. Do you think that it would be a possibility in the next 2 years?
No, we'll sit with him.
But then, first question I'm going to ask him, what happened there? What was going on with you? Why did you come for us? Because before that, we were like, yo, saying this guy is the golden boy.
Yeah, we were saying, we're actually predicting him going all over. We're like, yo, bro, this guy, he's the guy.
He's the one.
And then I think that's what made us even made me because I was the one championing him the most, even more than you, dog. I was this guy, he's the dude.
Him. But then I realized his attitude is his face, eh?
Dr. Malinga said his face, like he's ugly like his face. His attitude is ugly like his face.
Now let's cut it. Don't burn bridges, man. We need these niggas. I mean,
no.
In football, there are players that rejected me for interviews. I know that at some point in my journalistic life, I would have loved to conversate with them because
I'm always willing to have a conversation.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna let you.
We need to have it transparent, and authentic, and ask him the questions that matter.
Yeah. But that comes with where you guys are at.
Yeah.
Even the question that being asked, Woti, like when you're calling someone, they're asking you, are you as big as MacG?
Yeah.
Where you are in the moment, you're going to have to deal with the stupid nonsense.
Yeah.
Even though maybe you have more engaging conversations than MacG, or maybe you are at a similar level. Obviously, he's our leader. I always acknowledge him. He's our leader in terms of numbers. I know Laziwe does dope numbers, but I think
it's not podcast format.
Yeah, that format, and I don't even like that cheesy bubblegum nonsense that he does. But
who I slept with.
But that no. That's not. I don't consign that, and I see it for what it is.
Yeah, but it brings the views.
But obviously. That's why when I say our leader is for us is MacG, people who started from nothing. I know that.
No, but he was always MacG was always on mainstream media way before.
Remember, he got fired, and then he was not on anything.
You could argue that I'm mainstream because I worked for the biggest newspaper in the country.
Yeah.
Before I started iDiski TV, I was working for Laduma. I won 4 awards there. I was recognized in football already. I was already doing the morning show as an analyst. on ETV, but I don't consider myself as mainstream because I kept on knocking that door of mainstream and it wasn't opening. And I was like, okay, cool, let me just do this with Jason when we started this thing. Yeah, but so I don't see Meg G, but I do see Laziwe as a product.
Yeah, Laziwe is definitely from the internet streets. Yeah. Like since he was a teenager, like just the 1 minute videos, come up, 30 seconds. Yeah,
I think he has a lot of machinery behind him. I have not researched this. The aesthetics look like there's a lot of machinery behind him. There's a reason why he lends some of his interviews, and there's a reason why he's covered by the people that he's covered by. Nothing is always organic with us. iDiski TV, some of our videos were organic because they were funny and witty and whatever. But some of the stuff, I know how to smell something that's not organic. Like I would look at it because I'm experienced. I would look at it and I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe here there's relationships and that are able to feed into each other. Maybe he has got sponsorships that it's best when they place his stuff on maybe some entertainment newspapers that will take some of his content and push it up. That's why
he's related to Khanyi, so you can say that that's where he kind of like started from,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he is. They're like sisters and brothers or something like that.
No, I know.
I didn't know because I'm not into mainstream. I'm just making an observation, Uguti. Look, the way that I see Mekshi, for me, that's where it starts. It's like even if Super Sport, for example, does highlights. And they have 1 million viewers because they can be subscribers because they can be able to get a global audience if they're showing highlights of a Champions League, UEFA. But when I'm counting people who are our leaders in this game, not podcast only, but leading content creators, I think about people like Megji, MTM sketch comedy, Malome.
Yeah, the comedy guys are actually.
But I look at those people because I know that was authentic. Crawling, having no money, and then you're starting, and people gravitating.
And then there's also about offense and
yes, he's doing dope stuff as well.
Yeah, he actually has a really dope company.
For sure.
Wait, so tell me though, how did you get into media though?
It's probably my journey in football and media was always intertwined. So the way that I've been consuming football and not forgetting events and remembering players helped me a lot in media. I was working at a call center. I left university. I was doing BCom accounting when I was like 21. I left and I went to start working at a call center. In the second year, I was like, I have no money. I'm poor. I'm from KTC and Nyanga. I'm struggling to get 7 rand to go to campus. And I passed my first year in BCom accounting. But I was looking at it. There's a rite of passage as a Xhosa person that you go through, and it's like, you are a young man now. There's an expectation that you need to provide, and you can't even afford the 7 rand to go to campus. So that's how, for me, it's a decision that happened within 2 weeks. And within 2 weeks, I got a job at a call center. I worked for Vodacom's call center, picking up calls there. And then I quickly progressed. And then I started coaching and training people. So I did that, and I bought my first RDB house in that phase when I was 24, 23, in that phase when I was working at a call center.
Didn't you leave home at like 16?
When I was 17, I had left home already.
Yeah. You're already like
it was a stupid fucking life. Like it's weird when I talk about that shit because I don't know, man. Like by the time I was doing grade 10 and grade 11, I had left because my folks were drinking. Like my stepfather and my mother were drinking. You couldn't open your books. There was always fights and there were always people and stuff like that. And I was also embroiled in gangsterism bullshit as well. Yeah, but at that time, but I made the decision when I was 17 that I'm leaving this place and I'm gonna build my own shack and I'm gonna use candles to study and stuff like that.
So you built your own shack from
the
start?
Yeah. Like obviously, it's like the 4 of us.
Sure. Oh, as Jen. Okay.
And that's
like hand built with your own hands.
Oh, you don't know how they build shacks.
No, maybe you got someone maybe to build it for you.
No. When you stay in a shack, who's gonna build it for you? That shows how much money you can spend.
So if you can pay someone to do it. There's a side that you can buy for $400 or $200, or you can just get a combination of planks. I don't know, the wood. Or zinc.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, that's all you do. And you tell your niggas, please hustle this for me. Please hustle. You get nails, and then you do that shit. Yeah, but it's a normal thing in the township.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to come across as handy because I'm shit when it comes to use my hands. But we did that with my friends, and then I lived there like
That's crazy.
for 2-3 years, and then my aunt helped me after matric register for varsity. But there was a point where she couldn't be able to help me because she has her own stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's why after my rite of passage, I was like, I made that decision that I was faced with a decision to make. How do I get to campus? I don't have 7 rand to take a taxi and 7 rand to go back. So
you got the job at the call center.
And then I applied for, I used the library as a scale, the internet at the library to apply for jobs, went to job interviews. When I was 21, I landed a job at a call center. And then, of course, when you're in an environment, you adapt to like, okay, how do I get myself to, because when you're starting at the call center, you're earning like 3,500. How do I get to the next level, which is maybe team leader or a coach or a trainer, So if it requires you not to be absent from work, like there was 1 year where I was never absent from work. Like from the whole year.
That's commitment.
The only time I ever left earlier is because I had been what is this? I had been experimenting with a fast, so I didn't eat for 14 days.
Yeah.
Then the 15th day I ate. I didn't understand the mechanics of it.
Why did you fast?
Then I started. No, man, like it's to read. When you read a book and you get convinced by. So Elijah Muhammad, for example, is the leader of the Nation of Islam, which is the same organization that produced Malcolm X and a lot of other people as well. Karim Abdul Muhammad. And so many people that I admire. So when Elijah Muhammad has a book called How to Eat to Read, How to Eat to Live. And there it prescribes what human beings should and should not be consuming, especially black people. So I would be reading books like that and then I try out certain things. Yeah, but it's a miracle that here I am. 99.
So you converted to Islam?
No, I would read what they were saying and I would try it out. So I fasted for like 14 days, but I didn't understand the mechanics of the human body that you can't fast for 14 days and then when you break the fast, it's like boom, you eat like 5 pieces of chicken, something that you had been craving. Yeah, that's how that's the only. I wasn't absent from work, but I had to leave work early. That's the only time that year that I had to leave work early. But the whole year, like maybe it was 2012 or 2013, the whole year because I had been learning that in order for you to progress in this call center, you have to have good stats, and then you have a good absent record, and you must not have a final written warning and all of that nonsense. So that's the only time. Like I ate maybe 4 or 5 pieces of chicken because I had been craving. That shit fucks with you when you are fasting.
Sure.
It's like that's the only thing you think about. So it's like on the 15th day I ate and then I was like, fuck, I'm puking. But not like publicly, but I had to go to the toilet frequently, and puke and shit like that. So I left. But that was the only time. So I became a quality assessor, which means that you have like a group of 15 people that are working under you. Exactly. You listen to their calls, and then that's like you jump from 3.5 to like 8,000, 12,000.
And that's a decent jump.
Something like that. But there are steps to get there. Sometimes it can take you 2 years to work your way towards that. So to earn 12,000 meant that I then was able to fulfill the dream of looking for an RTP home, which was being sold for 90,000 when I was 23. And then I went to Capitec, I got 100,000 and I bought the first house that I it's like, I never grew up in a home where we were living in a house. We always had a shack here, have to rent there, another shack and so on. So we had to be evicted so many times, by people because we couldn't afford the rent and shit. Like,
so buying a house was like an achievement.
Yes, like that was like the main thing for me that I wanted to do at that age. So when I was 23, 24, in 2014, I ended up buying my house, and then obviously you pay that debit order for 4,000 from Capitec. But so that was like the first thing. But to answer your question, because it ties in with my upbringing, but there's a point at the call center where it's like, I have outgrown this shit. I want to kill myself every day because the cyclical depression of continuously going to work. I'm not built for that. I am not built to go to a place every day for 8 hours. So that thing fucked with me. But I always was listening to radio. I listen to radio today for 5 hours a day. I'm on PlayStation. I'm listening to radio, international radio stations and some South African radio stations. So one time there's a community radio station there in Cape Town called Zibonele FM. They say they're looking for a sports presenter at the time, and it just so happens I listen to them all the time. Like I listen to 1 hour of this show, and I'm listening to another one, and a national show, and then internationally, blah 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 on the internet, and then I go there. There's like 50 people. I'm the last one there, you know. But I was fortunate enough to be one of the people that you know, passed the auditions, like 2, 3 or 4 of us from the 50 people that were there. And the reason why I passed that is because there's nothing I don't know about football at that point.
So you were always passionate about football, like always on it. Did you play it and stuff though?
I was already coaching shit. There's so many things that are happening.
You were coaching at 23. Nkululeko, you have lived how many lives?
There's so many things that were happening at the time for me in my life that I was already the secretary of my football association. So it's like looking over 2,000 kids and adults. You know, and I was taking my coaching badges. I was already owning a football club at that age, like 20, 21, 22, 23. You know, because I always wanted to do something other than just going to work. That for me was a coping mechanism. I cannot go to work. I cannot go to work in a cubicle and perform that job, and that being the only thing in my life, and then have a girlfriend or a wife. I need to be stimulated by something. That's why I was reading. I need to be stimulated by something else. It's like, okay, let me read. Let me. Every day I was reading articles about football players, reading books on football, reading books on athletics, and so on and so forth. So by the time I got that audition, they were asking me questions that were complicated for other people.
Those were just easy for you.
Exactly. One of the questions that they were asking there is that, in the sport that you least understand, what have been the new rules being introduced in the sport? So you can't say football because you've already told them that you mostly understand football, but in the sport that you least understand.
So what did you say?
What has been the new rule? The new rule had been in golf. Oh yeah, I had to explain to them what golf is. I had to explain what golf is.
You explained to golf?
Yes, I was.
We explained to them.
Crazy.
Yes,
Damn,
to
bro,
them,
that means you know everything.
I know golf.
Sports related.
Yeah, like there's very few sports. The only sports that I don't know are sports that are not interesting to watch, to consume.
Like what, F1?
No, I love F1.
You love
fucking
F1?
Amazing. F1 is fucking amazing.
Cricket?
Cricket. You know, he loves cricket.
Water polo.
You see, like water polo.
Stuff like that.
You know,
nah, bro. Mainstream sports.
I probably understand the mechanics of it. That's like maybe 5 people on this team, 5 people on the other team. But I would not tell you what the best team in the world or the players. But I was always intrigued by sports, man. Like I think sports is an incredible thing, and it saved my life, obviously, because of where I am. But I consume sports. I sit there and watch Formula One and watch Lewis Hamilton take on Max Verstappen, take on Valtteri Bottas, and so on and so forth. And I think that shit is so interesting, is so intriguing to a point where football, the stuff that I do for iDiski TV, it gets in the way of me enjoying F1 because sometimes they play at the same time. Oh. You know, it's like, oh shit, I can't watch.
So you have to do work now.
Exactly. I have to, even though I love football too as well. But the way that I got into media was through that. That was my first in media. So you started community radio station whilst working at the call center. So your job at call center ends at 3 p.m. You go coach your kids from 3 to 6, and then I think the radio show for sports starts at 7 till 8. So that was my day.
It's a full pack day.
Yeah, but I that was my in on radio, and then I learned everything about radio.
The batteries.
You know, I learned everything about radio within a very short period of time.
Yeah, so like I wanted to know, like, after the radio journey, like, how did you get into Laduma and how did it propel you to start your own thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Soccer Laduma is important in my chapter because I'm working at a call center. I want to kill myself. I genuinely wanted to kill myself because I'm black and I'm 26-ish and...
Black tax.
You know what I'm saying? Like, every member of my family relies on me. And I'm stuck in this fucking cubicle job that I don't want anymore. And I know that I'm born for media. I'm made for media. I'd outgrown even the radio. I learned radio within 2 weeks and I was bored with it. Within 2 weeks, no exaggeration. I learned which buttons to press within 2 weeks because I listen to radio. I know how to curate radio shows because I listen to radio. You know what I'm saying? And I love it. Yeah, but I was like, okay, cool. So Soccer Laduma happens when I'm at the call center. When I'm at Zibonele, all of this shit is intertwined. When I'm at the community radio station, most of my colleagues go there, they do their job, then they leave. I'm recording demos at a studio behind, which is not the studio that you do live things, your live shows. You know. And then this one time, Soccer Laduma Radio, this is how I met my partner who I start iDiski TV with, Jason. Soccer Laduma Radio is being started, which is a podcast. Soccer Laduma is a newspaper. You open it, you read about players, you read player interviews, right? Now, they're offering you a website as well where you can read news. Now they want to also offer you when you're on the website a podcast, exactly, audio, because they have 800,000 people to 1 million who are up and down that website within a week, randomly reading news.
Healthy numbers.
You know what I'm saying? Those were dope numbers that you can sell. So Jason starts Soka Laduma Radio at Soka Laduma. He puts out a post for a host, you know, and I because I had been recording these demos, instead of sending them, I just record something for 10 minutes, you know, and I said, because this is what I did literally. I took a phone and I looked at the fixtures. All right, coming up this weekend, Mamelodi Sundowns will be playing Kaizer Chiefs. It's going to be an interesting one because Kaizer Chiefs have not been doing well this weekend. And then moving on, of course, there's also Baroka Football Club. Their coach, Nkululeko Tebejane, you know him. He always tells you that football will kill you real death. You know, and then you go into it and then you try to give context because it's fixtures.
Sure.
Chiefs, Paris, Baroka, but you give life into that bullshit. You know, and I did that within 10 minutes. You know, you don't have to practice it.
You did it off top. One take.
Absolutely, you need to do that.
You should have been like the guy that announces the numbers for Lotto. You sound like like number 4, Machine Dimakato. Number 6, 3, and for the Powerball jackpot. Like that voice, just like
so I did that, and then Jason called me, and it was in December. I don't know what happened. Whether he said I'm game, or he didn't reply for 30 days. But at Soka Laduma, the last 2 weeks you are given as leave, and the first 2 weeks of the year. Last 2 weeks of December, first 2 weeks of January, it's leave because they don't sell newspapers around that period.
Yeah.
You know, everything closes. So I didn't hear from them for 30 days, but eventually I got to hear from them. And then he's like, yo, can you come? And I'm like, no, I work at a call center, but what I will do is after my job at the call center, and I had been transitioning out of the radio station because it was boring me.
Yeah.
You know, and the audience as well is very frustrating, because they just want to hear about Chiefs and parades and signings. It's Xhosa people who are older. And even when you try to teach them about other sports, they don't give a fuck. They just want to hear about Chiefs is Malungwan, parades, go to coach, about those kind of things. But and I was like, fuck this, man, I'm bored with it. It's not stimulating me enough anymore. So I left that to then try out interviews at Soka Laduma. So when my call center job ends at 3, I drive to town in Belleville to town, 30 minutes, I get there whenever I get there, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, then I would do an interview with a player, a real soccer player. That's the first entry that I get into now talking to football players. The first interview must have been either Eliza Rogers or Nathan Paulser, one of the two, tall striker playing for Cape Town. So it's either Eliza Rogers or Nathan Paulser. That's the first interview I do. And I do a sequence of 4 of them, or series of 4 of them, once every week, and they pay me 2.5 for each interview, or 1.5 for each interview, something like that. And I was like, okay, this is dope. And then they offer me a job on a full time because they want to do this podcast thing. So essentially, we would do that I would be there every day with targets like, on this day you must get an X interview. We must create shows, and we created shows as well, not just interviews. And we created shows for sponsors. In 1 year, in 2017. We make 2 million for Soka Laduma, the company. Now, Jason is my partner at iDiski. He conceptualized that it was baby from his head, and he started it. But what happened was...
Jason is a white guy, so...
Yeah, Jason Aker is a white person. But fuck that. Like, we've made money together, and I never even feel that he's a white person. But he is, yes. And he's my partner. And we make that money, but he's being paid his normal salary, and I'm being paid whatever, 15,000 or whatever.
You guys made 2 million.
You know, the company, for the company. Because those, so you would get Blvck, Puma. There's so many things that we got from that year. It amounted to 2 million. But he was getting his normal salary, whether it was 30K and I was getting 15, 16, 17K after tax, you know. So this goes on for a while. And in 2017, like I come to Joburg for an award ceremony. I win 3 awards as the best new voice of this new thing in football, you know, and that for me, like, it gave me the indication that, look, you're on the right track.
So that's when you moved to Joburg.
You know,
that's when you were like,
that's 2017. I didn't move, but I came to collect awards. Even the next year I came to collect awards. But
while at Soka
Laduma in Cape Town, you know, and when we are at Soka Laduma, this is an insufferable situation because remember, this is a guy who starts this thing. It makes 2 million. They don't cut him his check. You know, he only gets his...
You were just an employee, so...
He was. I'm just talking about Jason. I was an employee. I didn't conceptualize Soka Laduma Radio. He started it. He started the thing, but he started it under company's time. He started it under company's resources. But the best thing, even if we were to conceptualize something, all of us, we it's 25% each of us.
Sure.
The fair way to do it is 25%. Even if I bring 100,000 as an initial income,
it should still be 25%.
And you give intellectual capital in that you do interviews, you talk, and then you guys work with the sound. We must split equity. Whether even if sometimes I cheat and I get to 40 or 35, and then you guys split the rest amongst the three of you, there must be a conversation about compensation. And that happened, and Jason was frustrated, and then he left. 2018, he left. You know, and at the time we had planned to come to Joburg.
Both
together. When we come to Joburg, we are going to start these two products, iDiski TV and iDiski Times. But we don't know the framework of how it's going to look like. We have no idea how we're going to do it. He leaves Laduma because of that situation, because they screwed him over. He comes to Joburg to work for Massiv Metro. Now, we were working for Laduma. We were doing bulletins for Massiv Metro. What you would hear on Massiv Metro as sports headlines. And in the news at 9:30, Siyabonga Nomvete has announced his retirement from football. He last played for AmaZulu as a 42-year-old. He will now join players XYZ as players who played beyond their 40.
Retiring at 42.
Yeah, about something like that. So I would read that, and it would be sent to Massiv Metro. So I was the voice for that.
Okay.
So that's how we get the connection with Massiv Metro. Jason leaves for Massiv Metro. 5 months later, I leave for Massiv Metro too.
Yeah, you follow him.
To follow him. Obviously, we have a bigger idea.
Yeah, you know that we're going to start
something together. But then we don't know exactly the framework of it. We know what we're going to be doing, but we don't know how it's going to look like or anything like that. So he comes to Massiv Metro, I come to Massiv Metro. I work there as a producer. Eventually, I present my own show as well over a period of time. But when we get here, then, this is the beginning of iDiski TV. I start pushing and say, look, we said we were going to be doing this. You know, initially what I did with Justice, I go and interview people. Now it's a different thing. I would be interviewing people for audio purposes, but then you build a contact list of 1,000 people that you've spoken to at Laduma over 2 years. Then you go and interview them. So we interviewed Blvck. That interview is there now on iDiski TV. We interview, exactly. We interview Junior Khanyi. Those interviews give us an indication that we are on the fucking right track because they do 100,000.
And these are like early on, like the
Jabu
first
did like bomber 200,000.
Jabu at the back of his beam.
Exactly. I'm like, I said to him, look, there's something I want to shoot, and here's a script for it. First thing, you're going to talk about how much money you were paid, the lowest amount of money you were paid. Talk about your family. Talk about the fact that you have a son. Talk about who are the interesting people you went to school with who were in football. That's it. Like, and it was a 3-minute video. Yeah. And I knew that those are things that people are interested in.
Genius.
You know, and that's it. Like, we put it out there. Now, that's the building block of iDiski TV. Now, the actual product, which is related to football, the analysis, that shit is inspired by. So I take these things, I put them on iDiski TV, the interviews. You go to Klerksdorp, you go to Davidton, and travel for hours to do that. I take them and I give them to someone at SuperSport. I show them, I did this. Can you connect me to someone who can connect me to someone? And that guy is a producer there, is powerful there. Because someone gave me his contacts, you know. But the way that he responded to me fucked with me.
What did he say?
I can't say verbatim, but it was a middle finger.
Yeah.
It was a middle finger. Dave Chappelle created Chappelle Show with Neil Brennan, right? On Comedy Central. And it became the biggest show in America. It's sketch comedy.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was hilarious. It was beautiful. It was cultural, right? They had sent it to 17 different channels in America. One of them, I think it was CBS or something like that, asked him a question which insulted him to this day. He'll never forget it. They asked him, why do we need you? And he says, all you needed to do was to look at it and say, thank you so much. It's all good.
Sure. Why do you have to be rude about it?
But they asked him, why do we need you?
That's offensive.
And then what happens in 2020? The same channel buys the right from Netflix to Flight Chappelle Show. And what does Dave Chappelle do? He goes on Instagram and tells his fans, don't watch that shit. Because it still fucks with him even after 15 years.
Yeah.
He's a creative. It messes with him after 15 years. And immediately Netflix, the CEO calls him. He's like, yo, it's all good. And they never paid him his money as well at Comedy Central. He left that show. Yeah. It's a whole story, but I can't get into it.
So basically, what you're saying is that that's how you feel about Supersport.
Yeah, not Supersport, the brand, because I wasn't speaking to the brand, but the individual there.
The individual.
You never forget that shit.
Yeah.
Why do we need you? I've already created something like this. So that thing fucked, because I'm a creative and I know that I'm super intelligent.
But at least it pushed you to go in and like start doing.
I couldn't sleep. Yeah. That's how I thought about iDiski. Like, that's how it came in my head that this needs to be done this way. I couldn't sleep. At 4 a.m., the idea of iDiski TV powered by World Sports Betting, Kaizer Chiefs 1, Mamelodi Sundowns 0.
It couldn't leave your head.
That it came in that moment where I was stressing with that. I couldn't sleep because of that.
So then what makes you go to Junior Khanyi and say, okay, listen, we're gonna do this for every match?
Sure.
Where does the concept start?
So there's a lot of research that comes with that. And research along the way. Not researching, sitting down and researching. That happened, but every single step of my journey, even this conversation that I'm having with you guys, is research, because I will tell my kids that, you see, those guys are on 50,000. I had a conversation with them when they had 6,000, when they had 1,000. So I'm continuously picking up things about people and how people react to things. Junior Khanyi, when I'm in Soccer Laduma, I'm picking up that they don't like him, the commentary, the comments. But he brings the most comments and he brings the most views. But they don't like him. Yeah. They don't like him. And he doesn't have teeth at the time. They just don't like him and they're insulting him all the time. I'm like, okay, one day I will work with him. But there was never the connection of, when I go to Joburg, this is what I'm going to do with him.
Wasn't it a thing of also he's knowledgeable, or was it always they don't like him?
Obviously, it's a combination of all of it. Yeah, okay. When I'm talking to him, I can pick up that we're speaking sense.
Okay.
It's just delivered in a harsh manner.
Yeah.
And as I'm talking, I'm like, okay, this is dope.
In like a street way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's harsh. It's not nice to hear. It's not nice to hear. Yeah. It's not nice to hear.
I know. I want to structure, Labo.
Exactly.
It hurts you immediately. Like, oh, goddamn.
What's your philosophy, guys?
Am I fooling myself by supporting these people here?
Yeah, well, something like that. But so there was a journey into that. But then there's the other side to it. I'm looking at Google, who is the sole owner of YouTube.
Yeah.
And every single time there's a football match, there are people on Google searching for the match reports. They missed the game. They are searching for the match report. And on Twitter, they are writing the word Kaizer Chiefs or Sundowns or Pirates. Those are our biggest teams. They are continuously writing about. On Facebook, that's the algorithm.
You're learning algorithms.
You know what I'm saying? They are writing about this. At the time that the match has ended is the most engagement you will get about the game. So we talk about the game, we upload the videos within an hour after the game has ended, and we see what happens.
People used to be mad at Joe for coming late. We're like, it's past midnight.
Oh yeah. Like at the beginning we were so poor. Like the only money that we were able to afford was to pay for Junior and to pay for Justice.
Oh yeah, Kunje Vele, you said that like with Junior, you always paid him from the start. You were like, yo, I'm not gonna make you do this.
Ever. I've never ever persuaded him otherwise. I took him from a team that I was playing for in Polokwane, and he gave his life to me because we had this conversation as men. I'm like, yo, Nasa Sandla, I'm extending a hand to you. Sibambe, hold on to this hand. I'm going to lead you. And I'm going to change your life. And I spoke to him about that shit, and that's what it did. He left. We met on the 15th of December in 2019. And then on the 15th of January in 2020, 30 days later precisely, after he had left that club that was paying him, we shot the first video because I had already spoken. Myself and Jason had already then went to someone with money. And then we offered them a percentage of our business. We say, look, this is the idea. We have a newspaper and a YouTube channel that we want to start. Can you fund it? In return, you will get 60% of it. Unfortunately, but fortunately, through that money and that finance, we're able to blow up because we didn't have the money.
To pay Junior
we didn't have the money. It's an unfortunate thing in that you have to let go of so much of your company.
I mean, it's the game,
but you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And I have to say these things because I know that there are younger kids learning about this.
Exactly.
So they need to learn.
Same situation.
They would look at me and think that I own iDiski TV. I don't. I own a percentage of it with my friend Jason Aker. And we went to Tyrone Willemse, Tiff, and we had to say to him, look, this is Tiff is the owner of Massiv Metro. We need money for this.
Media.
Exactly, Massiv Media. We need money for this. If you can cover the expenses of it, you take the percentage of the company. And it paid off for him within a year.
Yeah.
It paid off for him within a year. But talking about the initial journey, we paid Junior and Justice, and we couldn't pay for anything else at the time because it's a concept. You need proof of concept. You're still building this thing. It gets the first 5,000 subscribers, first 10,000 subscribers, around 18 to 20,000 subscribers. That's when World Sports Betting comes in. That's when sponsors start coming in, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. This thing is paying for itself.
Let's also be transparent. World Sports Betting, your business partner also had a relationship with them prior.
No.
He didn't?
No, I spoke to World Sports Betting.
Oh, really?
I had written emails, and the irony is that betting companies are coming and crying. They're coming back crying to me that we are sorry that we rejected it. One that I respect a lot is Sporting Bet SA, because they realized the fuck up that they made for ignoring that email, and they made amends. They came back because they could see this thing was ubiquitous. It was all over social media. Every single
trending,
game.
Every single game.
And I respect the guys at Sporting Bet SA because I spoke to them and they say, look, do you still have a relationship with World Sports Bet? And it's like, well, guys, you were late. But the way that we were speaking to them was respectful in that they acknowledged that they fucked up.
Yeah.
The others are disingenuous. They just want to ride on the gravy train. They say that to your face, but you know that even if they mean it, they fucked up because they didn't even give you an ear. You know what I'm saying? But of course, it is what it is. It's business at the end of the day. They make their choices and they live by them. If I am creating another product, I may go back to other brands. Obviously, I will always go back to World Sports Betting first because I sent an email to a lot of brands at that time. And one was Sporting Bet was crying. It's like, yo, we realized what mistake we made. So
you could see that they genuinely feel like they missed out.
Yeah, because others talk to me to my face. Even banking institutions, I spoke to someone at a banking institution who came back 12 months later and they're acting like buddy with me, realizing that they missed out.
That's how people are here in Joburg.
It is what it is, unfortunately. But at the beginning, we couldn't pay for everyone else. But when you started seeing Machaka,
that's when World Sports Betting came through.
Exactly. We were now operating at a level where everything was paying for itself. And it was so beautiful. It was stressful too, because around the same time, SuperSport, SABC, and everyone else, Marawa TV, were fighting for Junior.
They wanted to poach Junior, right? Yeah. Have you spoken about this?
We might
before?
as well get into it as well so that young kids can learn. So you start something, and media giants are also in the same space as you are occupying, and they were offering him something. And
this is Marawa TV.
Yeah, Marawa TV was offering Junior something at the same time.
More than they were basically trying to poach.
It was trying to poach, yes, but the thing is, technically, he could not be on the two platforms at the same time, and people were seeing him
contractually.
Contractually, he can't be on the two. You can't be on YFM and Metro FM at the same time.
Yeah,
not necessarily. You can't be on those platforms, even if you do a 12 o'clock show, midnight, and a breakfast show. You can't do that. On those platforms, but they were offering, and that's fair game to them as well.
But then, how did you feel when you started seeing him going there? Because there was a point where he appeared this week, and then the next week you're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it was 6. It's a good question. It was 6 consecutive weeks, and it's a good question because that fucked with me and Jason. And it's like we're continuously having engagements with them behind the scenes. And there's a time where you have to separate your ego and your business now, like your sense of business and understanding where you are and how important it is that you could make a decision based on emotion. There were times where it's like, no, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit. Like, we're going to restart and rebuild another superstar then. Fuck this shit. But then there was always a side of me. I went to Junior. I know his mother.
You changed his life,
I know his mother. He changed my life too.
Yeah, he changed your life too.
He changed my life too.
Yeah.
He definitely changed my life too.
Yeah.
I know his mother. I went to his sister's wedding in December. That's family. And I said to him, look, give me your life. Follow my lead. I will show you the light. And I said those things and I meant them to him. So there's an aspect of being egotistic from my side because like you get a culture shock. Oh, fuck. The guy that I've been listening to on radio since I was 12 years old, 2002, is now poaching my guy, and that was like,
what did they say? Idols become rivals.
Yeah, idols become rivals.
And we can't even be rivals because we are light years away from each other in terms of his repertoire and his resume. I will never be like him. There is no me without him.
Definitely.
And I know that it probably wasn't him. It was people from behind the scenes that we were talking to from his team. Him, obviously, Nkululeko, I would have said, I'm not going. Like the way that I supported you, you guys, during all the storms, I have this sense of, and this is a black person, and they are young, and this is where I am not going to do. I have that sense.
So you have no hard feelings towards Robert Marawa?
No, I can't have, because there's no me without him. But I'm just expressing, and I appreciate this platform that I know that there are younger kids watching this. I'm giving them a sense that as you enter doors and spaces, stupid shit like that would happen to you.
Sure.
You know.
But then did that moment force you to have to sort of like protect Junior even more after the whole incident, or like did you have to like pay him more or something like that?
There were so many things that happened that exponentially changed our situation with him. So you're on the right track with the payment. You're on the right track with even the idea of permanency and the idea of long-term commitment, because there were contracts that were short-term at the beginning because we didn't know anything about the direction of the business, where it was going financially. But then we had to make long-term commitments with him, and so especially with him, I can easily say he's the highest paid analyst in the country, factoring in bonuses. I'm not exposing a situation out there in the world.
Even compared to the people on TV and stuff.
I'm telling you, factoring in bonuses and everything.
Nice. Nah, shout out.
You know, I can tell you that it's fucked up that I would be exposing that, but I'm not mentioning numbers at least.
Yeah,
but,
no, we don't know the numbers, no.
Yeah, but I can safely conclude that, and it's a polite environment that I provide to the people. All of the niggas, if you can speak to them about working around my team, and you guys know me.
No, but
anyways.
we saw them. They started buying whips and stuff. The fact that we were there in the office, like we could definitely see, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, but that situation for me was very important. It was an important situation. The Marawa TV, and of course, you could see that after Junior makes his decision, because he had to make his decision.
Yeah, he had to choose,
after he makes a choice to come to us, and then the channel didn't produce content since December last year. You know, and for me there were no hard feelings. It was like, you know what? We were in a situation where whatever decision we would have made, it would have put us on our toes to say, let's go look for the next person then. We already have, so who else can we get? Obviously,
but let's be honest, like who are you gonna find?
I was about to say that, like
who?
But that's the point. That's the same fight we're fighting with mainstream media. Go search for young talent. Go search for people. I don't find Junior if I'm not reading articles at Laduma and see the engagement. That's how I saw him, because everyone else was using him. They were calling him, hey, what do you think of this? I chiefs this, and then they put up an article, no payment. Everyone else was using him.
That's crazy.
You know, no one had ever put him in a situation where he was in a permanent situation where he could commit to buying houses and shit like that. I don't imagine that there's anything that's going to happen other than SuperSport offering him more and then me having to say, I get goodbye. Yeah, but like nothing happened. But nothing.
At some point, it's going to be out of your control.
Exactly.
It's going to be like the offer is just too lucrative for him.
And even that will be as a result of us elevating it to a point where it's like, yo, you could be earning over 100K as an analyst, because they would have to offer something like that, for example.
6 figures. So what do you think made him stop though?
Well, it's that situation, but I can't put that message out there because I'm digital. I want him to be digital.
But then he ended up going back to radio. Now he's not even there
That's
anymore.
the thing. The point is, we must all be here. We must all show TV up. Robert stopped working for SuperSport. They terminated the situation with each other, amicably or otherwise. Now, it's a perfect opportunity to start Marawa TV. From 0 subscribers, it gets to 71,000 subscribers.
Just like that.
That's fucking powerful. Maintain, keep it up.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Whether you do it through interviews are difficult.
Yeah.
Interviews are difficult to get. They are annoying. You have to beg people, but keep it up. Maintain that so that TV comes back to you and TV pays you money for that channel. You know, so I would never be in a situation where I'm rooting for the demise of Marawa TV.
But that's that entrepreneurial mindset, you know. Not everybody has that starting from scratch. And
it's not even complex business, though.
He's been too much in the system, I think. Like, to the point whereby when he realized the actual work that has to be put
because it's hard work
with your own money, it kind of slows you down to see the actual reality of things. Like, I might not be able to.
The one thing that you're saying that is true about your statement is that there is a difference between earning 60,000 at SABC combined with your income that you're earning from SuperSport and making 150,000 per month, which is fine. So it's one thing to make 150,000 from SABC and make 60 from, I'm just using numbers out there. I'm just putting numbers out there. To make a combined income of over 100,000 or 200,000 is one thing, and you earning that income through you going there and delivering with your voice and your intellectual capital. But it's another to start a YouTube channel and pay a videographer and have to pay people around you. You don't even need a big setup, but some people think that you need to have a setup as big as TV. We only have 2 other people. Other than myself, it's Justice and it's Offense. And then everyone else is the analyst. Yeah. But when you look at 1 million views on YouTube, that gets you 25,000 rands. You know, and when you are used to bigger money than that, maybe that's demotivating. And that's why I agree with you to a point. But I need to stress this again. I want people to be here on digital so that we can show the middle finger to mainstreams, so that we don't have a scenario where there's only one good radio show on the country that covers sports. You know, we need to be ubiquitous, we need to be everywhere so that our audience have too many options. There can't be one iDiski TV. That's why I have all the time in the world for you guys and everyone else. Like I have all the time in the world to advise them. The time that I don't have is to give you a job. I don't have job for you. Like people want jobs. Like no, the time I have, I can give you information. I can tell you where you can buy cameras and what you need for the setup. And of course, you need to provide a good environment, a working environment for your team as well. You know, so those are the things that you need to balance out. But there's nothing entrepreneurial that's required from this thing. You know, even the next endeavor for me that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be paying a videographer, maybe 5,000 rands per month. It's going to be a part-time thing where he only shoots with me 2 times a week. And I'm going to pay someone to organize interviews for me, maybe 5,000 rands. That's cost me 10,000 rands. You know, and I would have invested 50,000 on my equipment, you know, and I haven't been doing this for 20 years in media, but I know that I'm already going to be paying that and I'm going to have to be investing in that and it's going to pay itself back. You don't need to be entrepreneurial. I'm not entrepreneurial. I understand things. I read things, but Jason's strength is to understand things that are different from me, even though he was also a journalist. And Tiff's strength is completely different because he helped us a lot with so many of the deals that we were doing, you know, as a team. You know, they have institutional knowledge of understanding how things work at a level of business. I too am learning that. But to start a YouTube channel that gets to 70,000, you don't have to stop when you're there. You have to continue.
Just keep going,
we need to teach these kids that this is where they're supposed to be. There's no point. Like, you get to 70,000, YouTube is rooting for you. When you get to 70,000,
keep making more content.
Exactly. Please keep making 1 hour, 30-minute shows because every Thursday we'll direct, or every Monday we'll direct people at 7 p.m. to go
come
here.
and watch your stuff,
we will use our algorithms to attract more followers from you, for you, you know, and that happened within a span of 6 months to get to 70,000. So I would like him to continue, and I don't give a fuck about that situation. I saw it for what it was, the situation of almost losing Junior. It's a journey. If I were to be upset about that, I would have to be upset with so many people because next up is going to be SABC. Next up is going to be SuperSport. Eventually, there's going to be a point where we say, thank you so much. We took it as far as we could take it. It was 2 years. It was a blast, and it was also very difficult. It was insufferable because sometimes we had to drag people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it was a journey, and we elevated each other's lives beyond recognition. From the time that we met, I have a house, he has a Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
You know, and he's working towards buying a house. And at some point, I will buy a car. You know, so from the time that we initially met to now, we
changed.
Elevated each other's lives to a point where the money that I've also made will make more money because I'm going to create other things now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's no point of arguing about we fought. But I'm open about this part, about Marawa TV or even SuperSport, because I need young kids to understand that those levels that you enter into, new levels,
new devils.
Exactly. So new spaces that you enter into, you get new enemies. And I don't even consider people to be enemies, but those are the challenges that you will be faced with. And those things need to be said so that young kids understand, oh, okay, this is what happened to me.
Yeah, they don't get faced when they come.
But then when you said, fuck, I feel like I just lost. You said that you're like more digital, right? But then when you guys started the iDiski Times newspaper, I was like, okay, you guys are preaching digital and then you're going 30 years, 50 years back, you know. Can you explain that move as a business?
We worked with Jason at Laduma.
Yeah.
One of the things that we felt was needed at the time, because Laduma was circulating around 100,000 newspapers per week. And that really is a significant amount of money, not on the newspaper sales, but on brands that are willing to advertise on your paper as a result. So they were easily making 2-3 million per week. You know, so that's the space that we wanted to enter into because it's insane.
That time it's like a 350 newspaper.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that just shows you where
one of the things
society is. Like, we can't think we're American.
One of the things that we wanted to do as well was to provide an edit option to allow people to read football news in their own language.
Yeah, it's a Zulu newspaper.
It's Zulu and English.
Oh, there's English too.
There's English mainly in terms of circulation. We circulate more English. And then there's Zulu as well. That's targeted to the people that you would find Zulu speakers in those areas. And if it was cheap, we would be like Free State, Sesotho and English. Western Cape, Xhosa and English. But it's very expensive to do it like that, to segment it like that. But there was so much scope. We knew that there's still so much. It's like a lot of people don't understand things. And when they don't understand things, they don't see the opportunities. We saw the opportunity that there is scope for us if we build it and do it properly. It could make similar numbers. All we need is to do similar numbers, and we are in a place where we are profitable. And if someone wants to buy it from us at some point in the future, then good for us. But of course, we are football people. Jason is a journalist. I was a journalist too. And we wanted to provide something for football consumers. But then, of course, over time, you learn that this is intertwined with business, and you see the business opportunity in it. You were saying something about American. Now, here's the thing: South Africa is South Africa in that there is a significant amount of people that still consume newspapers. Minus COVID, Soka Laduma would still be circulating 100,000 copies. Tina, we are at around 10, 15.
This is a month, right?
No, weekly.
Weekly?
Yeah. So, because we are a weekly paper as well. I'm not supposed to be disclosing numbers, but I'm giving you an interval or a range.
You know, people are already taking out calculators. Okay, 10,000. You know,
but you don't make money from paper sales. That's what I explained to you.
Yeah,
you get money from getting people to read, and then you get opportunities to advertise. Because 20 pages in a newspaper, that means it's like 10 opportunities to advertise different brands, and those different brands could accumulate up to maybe $1 million per month sometimes. Soka Laduma was doing 3 million per month.
God damn it.
At some point, you know. So yeah, it's all about that. That it was never about us looking at newspapers as a dying industry. Yes, it is, but there's so much that we could still do because of the nature of the audience. South Africa is a very unique country, and maybe 70% of its population is poorest. You know, and they still consume content and information in a way that was consumed in America 15 years ago. They still are at that place and it's cheap. It's $3.50, and they love football as well. You know, so that was the logic for us, and of course to have the opportunity to do a Zulu newspaper. That we thought that was going to be interesting just to see how it's going to work out, because we felt strongly that it's an untapped market. So if we try to do it, and Isolezo was doing dope numbers as well, like 70, 50,000 circulating per week, Isolezo. So when we looked at that, when we were doing our market research, we found, maybe we could break into that. But of course, COVID happened. But we're still doing decent numbers, even despite COVID.
So I wanted to ask you though, you've been like preaching like digital media and the youth joining it, and
Sure.
I wanted to ask you, like, did you know that you're gonna make a business out of it, like iDiski TV? Secondly, like, how does one make content with numbers? Because there's a lot of young kids, 17, 20, 13, getting numbers which are insane, but they just don't know how to turn that into a business. And for you, with your journey, how did you get to a point where it was a business? And because I know, like, you also, I don't know if you want to disclose, but then you also like has other partners, which you say.
Yeah, for sure.
You see, so how did you get to that point, and how did you, because people want to see money. That's all what they...
The way that I would explain it is very simple. There is a number that is a golden number on digital. It depends on the demographic that you are producing content to. So for example, when you have a strong... So 702 makes the most money out of advertising on radio.
Demographic.
Yeah, the reason why 702 makes money is because their demographic has more buying power. So you could have maybe 100 people on 702 listening. They would have more money combined than maybe 100,000 people listening to Ukhozi FM, which is the biggest radio station. So sometimes it's all about the demographic and who's watching you.
Who's willing to spend
and your demographic. Like, so we know of people that we used to work with that do a rugby podcast, and they have a stable 5,000 people listening to them, and they have sponsors with that 5,000 people, you know, because it's white males who are willing. If you are advertising on that platform, they would be willing or more than likely to spend a buck or two. Whereas you could have 100,000 poor black people listening to your show, but they're not willing to, you know, they're not willing to spend money. However, on YouTube, there is a mark that you reach, maybe around between 10,000 and 20,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
you can go and sell to a company.
Yeah,
so you could go to a company and say, "Look, Sanlam, we would like you to place your product, a 30-second ad at the beginning of our videos in this month. We have 20,000 subscribers, and that amounts to around maybe 500,000 views per month. And then you work out a deal where maybe they will pay you 35,000 rands as a result of that."
Would that be per episode of what you're shooting, or at the
no for the month?
For all of them combined.
For all of them combined, which is the standard is like 80 rands per 1,000 views. The standard. Sometimes you can mark it up to 90, 100, 110, but it's 80 rands per 1,000 views. You know, and then you go to them and you work out a deal, and then of course you need a sales team for that.
Yeah.
You know, or as smaller YouTube channels without sales team, you can write emails like I did.
Yeah, you can do cold reaching out, like cold calling and cold emailing.
You know, you reach out to them and you explain to them and you share links with them. I mean, World Sports Betting was so wonderful that they responded to me because they saw the links that I shared on the email, and they responded to me within 24 hours. And the guy that did respond to me is an excellent dude that we still are in contact because they are now business partners with us, you know. And so that's the way that you would make money on YouTube. Now, here's the downside to it. When you start small, it's very difficult to break into a higher market. So what I mean by that is that you guys are on 8,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Let's say you make your first sponsor at 15,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And you develop a partnership or a relationship. They give a 3-month deal to you, and they will give it 35 to 40,000 rands based on the number of views, but it's generally 40,000 rands per month.
Per month, yeah.
Now, YouTube channels grow exponentially sometimes. You explode. We exploded in the middle of our conversations with World Sports Betting, or in the middle of our relationship with them when they initially were a sponsor. And now, all of a sudden, you have to change your tone from 40,000, which is normal and you guys think it's dope, to maybe 200,000, maybe 300,000. The dangers of starting small with brands, in that they would think that you're haggling them out of their money without acknowledging that the numbers are now at a level where you're supposed to be paying that amount of money. So that's the downside to it. Now, going back to the business of iDiski at this point, there's a point where World Sports Betting is part of us. As a bread, they are on our shirts.
You gotta give it up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys, David Capel, Rob Delport. We have a lot of people that work on the website, and some interns as well. You know, it happened very quickly, and it was purposeful because we at Soka Laduma were working with websites too. We understood the website. Like I would have to write articles that had to be uploaded to the website. Jason was a leader there, web editor or something like that. So he understands website, and websites can get you money in the hundreds of thousands if it has traffic, if it has people that are consuming the articles and clicking on the ads. So that's another aspect of revenue as well. You know, so there is money to be made from a YouTube channel. The one thing that I would say to younger guys is that don't get wrapped up in a sponsorship when you still have 1,000 subscribers or even 10,000. Try and work your way up to 30 or 40,000 subscribers, or maybe 20,000 subscribers, because you need the money. But trust me, at some point there is a dead end there. Someone who was paying you 40,000 is going to look at you funny when you start coming back to them asking for 150,000, even though the numbers are reflecting that they should. But they're going to look at you funny because they saw the opportunity of taking advantage of your platform when you were still smaller. You know, and they're not going to like the idea that now you are charging them more. But that's the way the business is. All you have to do is stick to the numbers and tell them that, look, when we started our relationship, we were on 20,000 subscribers and we were doing 1 million views. Now we are on 40, which is double. So if you were paying 50,000 rands, the expectation is that you should be paying 100,000 rands, and you give them the numbers, and they say no, yes, but of course it's a relationship, and you have to maintain the relationship as well, and it needs to be respectful, but you have to represent your side to it as well, and that's when you start growing as well, and you start employing more people to keep their team small. All I can give you is information and knowledge, and I can invite you to come and watch what we do for a day, and then we break our conversations from that point. You then go and do your thing. I can't have too many people around my team because it gets messy, and then sometimes you get female interns, and then there's Me Too. The bigger you grow, there's so many nonsense that you're going to have to deal with.
I remember when there was we shouldn't even get into that. Let's not even get into that.
Yeah, me, I wanted to.
What happened? Anyways, what are you talking about? Because I don't know.
No, when that other girl used to come help y'all out.
Which girl?
Don't you remember?
There was never a girl with them.
Unketsang.
No, it wasn't for them. It was for Override.
Yeah, it was for a radio show.
She just used to.
It was a radio show, but she asked me to be there for only 2 days. I would never allow, although this will come across as nonsense and Me Too and sexist, So has a history openly with women. Junior has a history, which is challenging with women. I too have a history with women in terms of womanizing.
Yeah.
The last thing we want is to have situations where we are entrapping ourselves there. Yeah. So you try and prevent that from happening. That's why I want to keep the team small.
All right, cool. That makes a lot of sense.
That's funny.
No, it was like one time Aboto and Thingy walk in there and Banda is right there. Oto is going crazy. What's the Wamamu?
That's a married man anyways.
Oh shit, my bad.
So me, I wanted to talk about we've been going around Nkululeko, we brought you here. We heard your story. But SA music, I know you are a die-hard hip-hop fan, die-hard. Yeah. This guy will tell you out of nowhere, those guys you listen to, I won't listen to them. Mara, it's fine for you guys, Me, I listen to those guys before you. Yeah, my man. Yeah. You see, so tell me about your history with SA music and when did you fall in love with it and your passion. This guy used to be were you MC? Or...
Oh no, I at school I used to do choral music.
What's that?
Choral music.
You used to be in the choir.
It's coming through with it.
I didn't expect you. I didn't expect that.
Parties and mornings.
All the pizza vibes. Yeah.
Nah, but really? I hear what you're saying when you're saying how many lives has he lived? Because it's like he's at expert level in everything.
Did every single thing.
Oh man, you can do those opera things.
I used to do opera. That's what gave me discipline when I was a kid. So when I was in school, they picked up that when I was in primary school, they picked up that I had already taught myself how to read in a township school. So when I was 10, I would do so this is the 90s. When I'm 10, it's the year 2000. And white people are starting to enter into Ekasi. They want to open computer labs and gardens and shit like that. So one of the teachers discovered that I could speak English, and then every time they would parade me so I would say, thank you very much for visiting our school. We really appreciate you bringing computers to our school. And that's the shit that I would do. And then when I was 11, 12, for some reason, someone said I could sing opera to the teacher that was a schoolmaster, a choir master rather. And I did. I don't know why they said I could sing, and I don't know why I sang. Yeah, but so I sang tenor for the school choir since I was 13. So when you're at school, your school starts at 8, everyone else goes home at 3, you stay there until 5. That's when I learned discipline. Every single day. The first season of choral music was from January to June. That's the first time I came to Joburg at the Dome in 2004 when I was 14, because we were national champions at the time with my primary school. And then my high school as well, which is literally separated by what is this? A wire fence. Yeah. Is Temele Mati. So we were also national champions. So I've always been part of it. So the only time I had come to Joburg was through choral music and shit like that. But with hip hop, there was a point in South African music when a house was introduced, and we didn't know exactly what this was. There were guys like Boja Mujo and DJ Cleo as Kalen, the initial ones, and DJ Fresh. or Khanyi and all of these guys, and you could see that this is captivating. So it's around the time when Kwaito music is a major thing, but then there's this new thing coming up, which is house music. Some of these guys would take compilations and make them into their songs. So you would think that this song is being done like, Bojo Mojo would cheat a lot in that he would take Craig David, So Unbelievable, and he would sing it himself. And if you knew nothing about music, you would think that it's his song. So unbelievable. He would actually be into it, like on the videos, and even Summer Rain, he would sing it himself, and you would think that it's his song.
That's his original song.
So that's one thing that put me off in house music. The idea that they were not doing original content at the time. Obviously, they learned how to produce music. At the time, they were just selectors of songs. Yes, there were dope people like DJ Glenn Lewis that were also doing the same thing, which is compilations and taking most of foreign house music and infusing it with South African house music. But I never really got into that. What I liked really was South African hip hop. At the time, initially it starts with Amu, and of course, coming from where I come from, Ammunition in production, Amukelani Chaweni, and then the Squatter Camp as well. Mkuku Function, Washum Kuku, all of those albums, I would buy them as well because they were saying something and they were trying to tell you something, and you identified with their journey. You would learn all of the members of Squatter Camp at the time, Woo's Woo, and then there's Jabba, WHP at the time. I bought the album YBA to Northwest when I was a kid as well. And there's also young kids from my township at the time who were my age. We doing ciphers and not me per se. I would dabble in it, but I was never really that good. But I would go to ciphers, and 3 Months Cup starts, and they release an album called, or a mixtape called The Battle of Nkuletu. And this is when Xhosa Spaza comes into it with all of these guys, the Archetypes, TOP, Odette, and all of the guys that are doing Xhosa rap at the time. But mostly in mainstream, what we're hearing was Mr. Selvin, Squatter Camp at the time, Proverb, no Pro Kid comes a little bit later on as well. And the most important person at the time for South African hip hop music is Tbo Touch, because he does a show called Rhyme and Reason between 6 and 9. And we are 16 years old and we listen every Saturday. We are 15 years old, we listen every Saturday, and it becomes the most listened to show on a Saturday or around that time slot. And this is where you hear the first time, Gutia Guess, the first time you hear AKA Entity at the time. You know, first time you see a lot of these people, you hear them from that, and even a Pro Kid. I know that because we are in Cape Town, we couldn't get YFM, but I would hear when you're opening a Hype magazine, which was also important for the culture, you would then hear, or you would read about a battle between, or a diss between Ukade and a Pro Kid on YFM. And then it gets to me, okay, there's a show, or there are shows on YFM that are doing hip hop as well. I think DJ Fresh was part of that, if I'm not mistaken. There were other guys as well that were part of that. So, but Tbo Touch, his show became the most important show. He brings in Abo Akon to come and perform to South Africa, and you would hear Akon performing through that show. You know, all of these human beings we hear first through that show. And then there's a point where, there's a tipping point where South African hip hop becomes mainstream. Comfort me through all the sickness. Jesus relieves my stress. You know, you understand and you identify with it. Pro Kid, you identify with it. Even a Proverb. The book of Proverb I knew from the beginning to the end. YBA to Northwest, I don't understand Siswana. Tuksinganga, Mafuku Army. I had that album. I don't understand the word he's saying, but I had that album. You know, and it's Siswana. And it was beautiful. Imurafe at the time. My favorite rapper in the world is Kulichana. My favorite rapper in the world is Kulichana. You know, yes, because I no longer listen to today's rappers. You know, so those are people that I identify with. Then I want to make the point. There's a tipping point with South African hip hop. So
they get money now. At
some point in the summers, they are band together so that Jabba raps his song and it lasts for 60 seconds. So that Mr. Selvin raps his song, it lasts for 60 seconds. It's like 3 or 4 rappers, and they're just given 4 minutes at the summers. boom, and they're given one award.
Like a medley.
Yeah, it was a medley. Yeah. It was a medley. And then at the end of that, by a Puma stage, and that's the last you would hear of hip-hop at the time. So it was easy to identify with it because it was being marginalized, and you identify with it because you're black, and Nani, you are being marginalized. You can see in Joba, your blackness is just a fucking burden. Yeah, but and you identify with those guys. And then there's a tipping point. There's a point where Ujaba wins. I don't know whether it's either 2010 or 2009, because the Summers would give you a good idea, or the Metros would give you a good idea of who's doing well in the industry in terms of hip hop. For the first time, Jabba, yes, he sweeps and he performs. He's like the closing act or whatever the fuck he was at the time. I can't remember, but I was into it at the time, you know, and he sweeps and he wins awards and he performs, and this video has A-Marie, an American musician, at the time. And that was a big deal for us, but that became a tipping point, because then there's Casper, and then there's AKA, and then there's the pseudo beef or beef if it's real. I couldn't care less, but they fill up stadiums. It's like, for me, that became a chapter. It's like,
brand endorsement started coming in.
It's like, I'm like, okay, this baby that I was in love with, okay, from a mainstream perspective, rest in peace, thank you. You have grown now. I have no reason. It's like, no, it didn't die. Oh. But for me, it's like, I end this relationship with this because it is no longer something. It is no longer something I agree with.
Go to varsity.
Yeah, but exactly. You know, and I start then investing time in younger kids, like people from around my way. You know, not investing in, but just I listen to more of them.
Would you listen to now?
So, but even now, Baba mainstream. There's a young lady called Holy Alpha. There's another one called Bravo Leroux. He's a young man.
I know Bravo Leroux. He was on Flashy Kumkani song, ne?
Babebe Ring. Hey. Kanda Shayel. That motherfucker is actually...
he's dope. I actually like that verse on that song.
Yeah, well, that dude is dope. And there's also... because I'm always supportive of people around my way. So I'm from Cape Town, Xhosa rappers. Yes, I would first listen to them before I listen to everyone else as well. Dkwala, I was thinking about her actually. Because there's a song that she does, Utatako, she's part of that. Yeah, boy, Younger Suwarans.
She killed that verse.
That shit was dope, but then they become mainstream. They're easily being picked up as well now, but then they quickly become mainstream. One challenge that I've heard with the guys, because I'm still listening to the underground guys, but the ones that we just mentioned now, Bravo Leroux, Dkwala specifically, one challenge that I have with her is that even though she's doing well, and it's amazing that she is, the problem is that she's being overly sexualized. And that's like a common problem that we have with Xhosas being, typecasted. So a Xhosa woman on TV is always going to be obnoxious. She's always going to be rude, and she's always going to be sfeb on TV. If you watch, I don't watch TV shows, fuck them.
I hear
but you will notice that a Xhosa woman is either she's breaking families' homes, you know, she's being typecast.
A mistress.
You know, yes, she's a mistress.
Money.
Exactly. And I even say to women here in Joburg that if for example I'm vibing with a girl who's Pedi, who's Swana, I always say it's funny, you know, because you haven't refused the money that I'm giving you. But Xhosa women are being known for,
they ask for it.
But the thing is, the women that I vibe with, and I vibe with every tribe. I vibe with every tribe. They never refuse money. But Xhosa women have this reputation.
Wait, Nkululeko, didn't you tell me you're married, bro?
Vibe doesn't mean anything but a vibe.
You're just vibing. You're just a vibe.
They never refuse money. Dkwala. My concern with Dkwala is the highly sexualization of her. Yeah, but Uguti, every single thing that she's going to rap about is her body. You know, and that's a concern for me. It's not like I'm a super fan of her. I know maybe 4 or 5 songs of her. You know, I'm not going to buy merchandise from her, but I'm just making an observation that the one thing is that, look, there's so many other things to rap about. But of course, do whatever you want to do, because I cannot restrict her creativity. But I'm getting concerned that even other rappers as well who are female, it's like they're being overly sexualized. I enjoyed it in my time when I was a teen, but now I'm a little bit older. I understand they don't have to do that, but they can do that if they want to. I shouldn't be telling them.
Nicki Minaj who did it for all of them.
Like
the influence started from them.
Lil Kim
and them.
No, but I'm saying like right now, like what you're saying, Dkwala and Gigi Lamayne are the most, in my eyes, which have changed throughout the period, you know. And right now, what they've, like image-wise, they've made themselves to look like. as being the typical or what's in demand, you know. But like that for me, it's like after that I started seeing they would get more endorsements, they would get more partnerships, they'll get just because it's appealing and that's what people think female rap should look like, you know. You minute you look like Young Ma, it's like, hey.
I call her Stephanie.
Yeah, so like I think that's how hip hop has positioned women. Like that's what they accept, you know.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm intersecting with this question at a point where I'm talking about Utikwala and Holy Alpha as well, who's a young kid coming up from Cape Town. And I just want to impart this, that one, I will never impose my will on what you do, on your creativity. That's not cool. But I love you guys, and I think that it's a trap. It's a trap because you're going to have to, you know, when someone is continuously hinting to you that they might be great in bed, and then you get to bed with them and they're not so great, you know, you're selling yourself as this product and then you may not be that product. You know, I think that's the danger, because she's doing dope stuff. I think there was an Adidas ad with Sia Kolisi and she was narrating it, you know, and I know that I've seen Tommy Hilfiger on the socials as well, you know, so she's doing dope, and she is one of the leaders of the new school. I think Holy Alpha has something to offer as well. She's also a young Xhosa woman who's rapping, and I enjoyed them. I will never be a consumer of mainstream you know, content. I don't like it. I know where it comes from. I know that it's deliberately created to appeal to the pop market, and it doesn't appeal to me. But of course, you will have songs that you bang, you know, some songs that you pick up. That's why I don't necessarily like listening to radio other than the shows that I specifically listen to, you know, in terms of the music. But you are correct in that women have always been seen that way in hip hop. And in fact, hip hop has never really treated women properly over the years. I love Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan has so many albums that were influential around the same period, from 36 Chambers to Jizza. All of the guys released their first albums. And in all these albums, what's common is that sometimes they feature women, but it doesn't write there. There's no acknowledgement that featuring XYZ. Yeah, but featuring XY. The lady is just there providing vocals, but she's not being acknowledged about featuring Zahara or whoever. Yeah, but so that's hip hop has always had that problem with regards to women. But I think that overly sexualizing yourself can be a challenge, because we may not hear you, because on the song with Tatako, I taught my daughter the song. The verse.
The verse, yeah.
Yeah, but and that shit, like it's catchy. And I want to love her for that, and not for the aesthetic and how she looks like, you know, that type of thing.
That makes a lot of sense.
For me, I wanted to say before we continue, like, yeah, what you're saying is right, because now the more you get naked, if you've seen most of the people, they need to get more naked, because people get used to you.
You have to keep it up.
People get used to you in jeans. Now we want to see bikinis. Then tomorrow, we're doing my anaconda dope. And then it's like, yo,
sex tape.
Yeah, you see,
sex tape. Afterwards, we need a sex tape.
Yeah. So I think it's a trap, as you said. Like women, it's only one path there, to the point where we can see you fully, like for what you are, and physically. That's what I mean. And
I think for me, it's just keeping it up. You know, you're gonna have to keep it up now your whole career.
Yeah,
even
that's how you create your image as.
You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to, like, example, just gangster rappers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to be gangster for the rest of your life.
Snoop Dogg can't change it tomorrow and, you know, say he wants to be a snitch or anything like that.
Well, he became a lion and a Rastafarian.
You know.
But it only lasted for a couple of weeks.
Exactly. He's still, you know, Uncle Snoop.
Sure.
You know. But I heard you talking about Xhosa rappers.
Yeah.
And I've only, like, I don't want to say discovered, but I've only, like, came across them with both Koala, crunch up with Ifani.
Yeah.
You know, and then over the years, but
Big Xhosa.
You know, now there's Big Xhosa.
Shout out to SOS.
Yeah, and then I want to know, who is the OG, who's the person, the pioneer, the person in the forefront that all of these people look at and say, this is the guy.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So there's different industries or there's different spaces where you would find isiXhosa rap common at. Whatever you see in mainstream is what Gauteng wants to accept as Xhosa rap. So Ifani messing around and clowning. Of course, technically there were other aspects of him that were good, and he created hits at the time that he did. But that was not a reflection of where our culture was coming from with Ispaza. Ispaza, there were guys that were narrating stories about women who leave them for other niggas, the typical bullshit, but it resonated with young kids in the township that were shooting each other, who were gangsters. Whatever you see who is Ifani or Dikwala, mainstream, is absolutely nothing or nowhere near what we were experiencing in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. So in the Eastern Cape, they may have been experiencing a guy called Abantu and Tangache. Those guys were dope. They were not dope, but they were the leaders of their era at the time. They would make it to radio. But I think the most important people, I was listening to them actually for the past 2 days, ironically, because I discovered them on Spotify. But I've known them. I have their CD, but I saw them on Spotify. I was, oh, okay, nice. I couldn't find them there. There are guys called Izithunywa Zohlanga. Essentially, they are messengers of the tribe. That's what it translates to. Yeah. And the stuff that they talk about there is insane. About politics, about the life that we live modern versus us escaping the life that we were living as Xhosa people initially, or black people at large. Us exchanging modernity with who we are and the dangers of that. They have an album called Nkhaotic. That fucking album is so dense that I've listened to it maybe 50 times and I still have to understand what they're saying, but I understand what they're saying, but I have to meditate on it. So Izithunywa Zohlanga was so important for their period. And I first came across them in 2008 or 9. They may have released that album in 2004, 3 or 5. Yeah. But it still resonates with me in 2021. Sure. So that's Eastern Cape. In the Western Cape, guys like Drimanskap were important because when I first heard their mixtape Battle of Gugulethu, and it was people that looked like me, that spoke like me, mixing its style with isiXhosa and talking about issues that resonated with me. And then there was a wave, like it started almost a wave of rappers who were trying to sound like that, but maybe unique. There were guys called Omakoseni or Pizzo, and all the guys like Archetypes, TOP. And at that time, what was fortunate as well is that there was Hype Magazine. When you were buying a Hype Magazine for 12 Rand, you would get a CD for free. Yeah. And what Hype did well was if they have 12 songs, they would give other regions an opportunity. So they would play one song from the Western Cape, they have a song from the Free State, they would have a vendor song there, and so on. So that the 12 songs on that CD, for 12 Rand, you would have different sounds, and that's where TOP came through. That's where Drimanskap was given national, opportunity to be heard by a national audience as well. So Drimanskap, there are guys like that, so many guys that we're looking up to. But I need to stress the point: what you are hearing in mainstream is not exactly what you would hear underground. But I think Spaza's problem, Spaza is like Motswako. That's why I liked Motswako. That's why I bought YB to Northwest and Mafoko Army. Tuksinganga, Mafoko Army. I bought those albums because I could see that this is the same thing. I could see that these guys are just Tswana, but it's the same thing as these guys who are Spaza. It's hip hop anyways, but we're calling it differently. These guys are doing it in Xhosa, these guys are doing it in Tswana, and Pro Kid is trying to do it in isiZulu, and we're calling it Blvck. But it was the same thing. Yeah. The one challenge that they had was there was always going to be a glass ceiling or a dead end, because they were always talking about the same things. It's like there's only so many times I could listen to you talking about your mother dying and you having a difficult childhood. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They would narrate those things. Honey, classes are first casket A1. It's like you're saying to your girlfriend, if we die one day, we'll be buried in the same casket. You know what I'm saying? You are glorifying your girlfriend and expressing your love, but it became the same tired message all the time. It's basically
based on struggle music.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Everything that happens in the township. The
black culture.
It's like Gom. The trappings of Gom was that it all sounded the same. At some point, you were going to get tired because you couldn't differentiate between the introduction of a Destruction Boys sound and someone else. Whoever else is there.
These Root Boys.
Destruction Boys. It was always going to be very tired. And I got tired of... I don't like house music anyways, but I got tired of that shit because I like sampling different sounds. I'm like, no, man, this thing is the same as the other one and the other one and the other one. And Spaza had the problem as well. Uguti, it just became the same thing being said by different people, different cadence. And I think that's the same thing with mainstream media. I was saying to someone, actually, mainstream hip-hop, whether it's Casper, aka or anything. There's only so many things that you can rap about so that you guys don't sound the same. All of you use autotune. It's the same cadence or it's similar. It's like I've listened to hip hop, thousands of songs that by the time I listen to the next song, there's nothing you are saying that I've never heard before.
Yeah.
You know, and that's maybe the challenge for hip hop. The nice thing about it is that it always appeals to a younger audience. So someone who's young, who's 12 years old, has not heard what I've heard, has not heard 1,000 songs. So when Blvck comes through, it's fresh to the 12-year-old. But for me, it's like,
amazing.
Nah, man. It's like, I've heard this before.
Yeah.
I've heard this before from different rappers in different eras. So that's why it gets boring. I'm 31 years old. I feel like I'm 50 because I've listened to so much of this nonsense.
Yeah.
So, but how, like, you know, they were rapping about their struggles, their growing up, but like now they're no more struggling. You know? So now they're rich, you know, they gotta rap about their Bentleys, but that's not the reality of most South Africans. So I think that's where they lose.
Some of them are not actually rich. So some of people in Spaza were on the microphone and they were like you and me on the microphone and they pop up on radio. But you guys know what radio is. You get play, but it does not mean that 1,000 people are going to like you or 1 million people are going to start spending their money on you.
Yeah, I mean, like, I say hip hop, you gravitated towards it when you were in your early teenagers and it grew, you know, it blew up. But then what do you think happened after the pinnacle, after the peak of SA hip hop? What do you think, like, what transpired for you to be where it is right now?
I think it's in a good place. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore. Like I said, like my interaction with it was informed and coincided with my poverty. You know, and there was a point where I needed people to heal me through their music. You know, and of course you like the technical aspect of it, that people are doing poems faster in a beat. You know, and it's like, fuck, I would like to do that too. You know, and it appeals to you. But I think what happened, AKA and Casper elevated the game to a point where
they killed it.
It would never have been where it is. You don't like this motherfucker.
No, I honestly feel like they monopolized the whole industry according to them, who they are and who their personalities. As soon as their careers didn't appeal anymore to public masses, the mainstream media didn't know what to do. So they jumped on other waves.
They were important.
Yeah, they were.
I don't care about listening to them, but they were so important because I had to reflect on this. That it's at the point that they were like climbing and they were on a peak. I cried the first time because because the thing is we would struggle. Like I was saying to you, in the summers we would get medleys and they wouldn't appreciate us. And you know, there was a point where you had to choose between house and hip hop. And I made my choices. I was like, I'm going to fall in love with this thing, even though my peers and my friends are more into house. And then there's a point where, and for me, I cried because I saw Udok Shebeleza was being sung in a stadium and women were rapping to it. 10 years before that, people would boo hip hop when it's being played in instances where people want to be drunk
and dance,
you know, saying like they want to fuck around. They don't want to hear that shit. But Udok Shebeleza was being sung by women and they were verbatim, word for word. They understood all the lyrics.
They were having a great time.
Exactly, they enjoyed it. For me, that was so emotional. Even though I don't care about those musicians, because I understood that this is like an elevation to another level where the trappings of what happened, what you're describing, was always going to happen. Because as soon as they saw AKA and they saw Casper and people started gravitating towards them, and for some reason they had to choose between one and the other. I don't understand what that bullshit is about. It's like people want to choose between Messi and Ronaldo. You don't have to. But people felt like they had to choose between one and the other. The people that make money in music were taking notes. And they were creating an STC. They were like, okay, this is how you create a superstar. We're going to box this creativity and it's going to sound like this. Nangu STC, Blvck and whoever else came after that. I don't know the sequence because I stopped listening up to that point, you know. And then when it's boxed and it's being packaged, it's being tailored to appeal to a certain market. And people spend so much money to buy radio time, to buy awards. It no longer sounds creative anymore. To a point where Khanyi West releases an album, even though it's shit, because it appeals to such a mass market, it has to be dope. And even when it's shit, because of the mass market and the number of people that listen to it, it's going to be 9 songs on the top 100 Billboard.
Yeah.
The same with Drake. That's the trapping of it. It's like, I listened to Kanye West's album, Mutonda, because I don't like mainstream media, but I was okay, let me listen. I'm like, I only listened for like 10 minutes. And I've listened to all Kanye West albums, all of them, even Ye, even all of them, all songs, all of them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there is a trap here because these people have become megastars who are products, and one way or the other, they're going to enter into the Billboard top 100.
Yeah.
And people are no longer allowed to express that this AKA album is not that good. And that's the challenge that the culture is finding itself in. I don't know. I no longer, through iDiski TV, I no longer have the challenges of township kids anymore. And I'm 31. My life is dope now. So I don't know what young people need to hear when they're listening to their favorite musicians. But I don't think that it's the same. I don't think that there's someone who's uplifting them. Like Zulu Boy, Masambisana album. That album was fucking insane. I loved every song on there. And it was healing me. It was also entertaining me as well. I bought that album. You know, I don't know that what kids are signing up to when they are listening to hip-hop now. Is it someone who's trying to uplift them? Because black people are still poor. Black people are still, disadvantaged. And there will be for the next 100, 200 years. And maybe we do need our rappers to try and speak about those issues. However, when mainstream has got the culture by the balls, the interest will always be that. Because, I mean, Blvck happened overnight to me because I don't follow mainstream. Yeah. I was like, who's this guy? And all of a sudden it's like popping.
Superstar.
It's like, what happened? What was his come up? Where were his battles? You know, who did he battle? What is he saying?
No more. SoundCloud, that's done. Numbers are your battles.
Yeah,
we compare. Like, I have 100,000 views, you have this amount. That's my battle.
And I'm not even critiquing the guys. I'm just saying, like, if hip-hop was started, of course, the popular narrative now is that in the Bronx, in the late 70s to 80, it doesn't matter where you trace the lineages. We are all black, and that means it's African. But if it started there, and then over time it developed into becoming a voice for African people, is it a voice for South African people in South Africa, in the South African context? Is the best song at the moment reflective of what is currently happening to South Africans at the moment? There's a guy called Uncedi Sampemnyama. He's also a rapper, Jargon Music. I like underground people. He was a rapper, but he's an activist as well. He's part of a Black First, Land First movement, a political party. He was doing a speech or a series on YouTube where they were talking about music and art and how whether or not it reflects the culture that it or the environment that it exists in. And it says something important there, and that maybe was shot during the Fizz Must Fall movement, maybe 6 years ago or 5 years ago. But I remember him saying that if you were an alien from a different planet or a different universe, and you came here and you specifically listened to Casper Nyovest and AKA as your point of reference to understand what is happening with South African black people, you would not know that 70% of black people in South Africa are in extreme poverty and that there is rampant rape.
It doesn't reflect.
No. There is rampant violence, because it's not gender-based violence. 70% of the people that are being killed are men, between men. If there's 14,000 people being murdered in South Africa, 12,000 of them are brown men killing other brown men. There's no such thing as gender-based violence. Of course, women are being hit and they're being raped and they're being harassed every day, and that's not something to joke about. But black men kill other black people more than they kill everyone else. There are no farm murders.
That's true.
Other than the fact that a farmer has been murdered, it's not a pandemic. And it's not right that is happening. For every 14,000 murders per year that are being calculated, people killing other people, it's brown people, 12,000 brown people killing other brown people. So it's if anything, the gender-based violence is brown men killing other brown men. It's so biased that it kills other. It's the numbers are not even they're not even close that we would think that it's gender-based violence. But of course, it's more catchy to phrase it like that. To go to women are being killed, and yes, they are. I come from violence, and I saw my mother being bit every single weekend when they are drunk. You know, but of course, the numbers are reflecting that it's other brown people. But back to the point. If you came from a different planet and you listen to the best rapper right now, even in America, you would not know that we have these challenges in this world. And maybe we don't use music for that. Maybe there's a point to be made about that we meditate, we don't we use music as an escapism.
Yeah,
we don't use it to continuously remind us that we are fucked up. Maybe there shouldn't be.
So you still want more artists to come out and like be in misery, you know?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe they shouldn't. I'm not imposing my will on them. I'm just reflecting a side that they're not reflecting about the communities that they come from. That's what I'm saying. I'm making another statement within what I'm saying that maybe maybe our agreement with music is that it's supposed to entertain us and not remind us about our pain. Yeah. I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm not saying, because I have no right to tell musicians what to do or say in their music.
Yeah.
But I would like a wider spectrum of things being said on the microphone. The microphone does not only exist for you to record gom music or house music or to say that you're fucking bitches. That's nice. I mean, I do that as well. But we would like to hear more things. We would like to hear more variety of things. But maybe the incentivization is done through mass media, in that on radio, they will only play when you talk about certain things. So there's an incentive for you to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
You know, you will not be played if you are being too depressive on a morning show, on a breakfast show. Maybe that's the answer.
But maybe there might be a space there for other artists to like play in that space and like try and cover it, you know? Because I think now they don't need to rely on radio and stuff. And there's going to be people that are going to connect with you, you know?
But like, you must understand like where we come from versus where we at right now.
Yeah.
Like before 1994 versus when we here right now after 1994, we had a common goal before. Because it was visually there.
You were fighting against an enemy that you can see.
Yeah. So we all said, this is our common goal, and this is the common goal as the Black South African. Mara, after it became behind the scenes. So not a lot of people are exposed to it. A lot of people don't see it as a thing anymore. They think, no, it's done. We finished. We all we're all on equal grounds and we all can achieve everything. So the few that rise to the top feel like if they talk about it, it'll, as you said,
jeopardize their back.
Yeah, the career even. Mara, I feel like we exchanged our chains to buy chains, you know?
Yeah. That's a good point.
What a bar. Steph the rapper.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I think we should wrap up. We're done now, ne? But wait, before we wrap up, do you think we should show the plaque? Just for the ambience, you know?
You know, just saying, guys.
It's true. Straight from YouTube, straight from Google themselves.
You know,
I prefer 2 million than any plaque. I don't give a fuck about it.
You're waiting for the 2 million?
No, I'm saying I prefer money than this stupid shit.
This is so amazing. Where are you going to put it? On the wall?
Bro.
I don't know.
Can I see?
I don't know.
Presented by iDiski TV, 100,000 subs, baby. That shit looks beautiful.
I prefer money. I don't.
I'd rather
so you don't care.
I would wake up, look at my face at this thing. I'm like,
I care so far.
Yeah, I'll use it as my mirror. No,
meaning that we have 100,000 people, meaning we can make more money. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I should probably use it as a thumbnail. You hold it, Nkululeko.
Nkululeko, my brother.
Why the fuck should I call it?
Nkululeko, my brother. Bana philosophy. Bana culture.
Congratulations, bro. You guys putting in the work, you know?
Thank you.
This is dope as fuck.
Thank you.
Do you look at yourself on that plaque? Because it has a nice mirror there.
Nah, fuck.
In between the YouTube sign, like, you know?
Yeah, but I'm looking forward, though, to seeing you guys. 10, next step 50, next step 100.
Yeah.
I thought that the Bonang situation was actually going to propel you faster than it did.
Yeah.
It initially did give you some boost.
Yeah. But you expected to be more.
Yeah, I actually thought that it will quickly get to 10,000 because of the situation. Because I understand algorithms.
Yeah.
I thought that it would do. But then when I looked at it, I was like, okay, still 4,000 on average. With your podcast, you were getting 4,000. Like, okay. Not bad. But I thought maybe you would easily jump to 10,000 average. But now you're getting...
But that was going to be overnight. Yo. And I think we're going to be like, whoa, what the hell?
And the other thing is, I think, you know what kind of threw me off was just like... all we gained from it is just like more haters.
Yeah. Only. There was definitely more haters.
Nah, but you should never worry about people talking about shit. Like
right now, I don't worry.
You should never. I've always been conscientizing you guys about that. Never worry about that shit. Like, what the fuck can you do? Like, people comment. Who cares, bro? Like, it used to bother me, but I would be like, trust me, tomorrow we'll shoot another video.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck you say,
we're never
tomorrow
gonna
we'll shoot another video.
Never
so you can be committed as a hater.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is that, of course, people know me more now.
Yeah.
And when they see you on the street, they don't just say that shit.
Yeah, no, they actually show love.
They actually yo, I love what you're doing, bro.
The worst thing they can do is ask you a question. I've never had anybody in the streets
come up to me and be like, yo, like, fuck you. I'm telling you, dog, never.
Nah,
it's always like, yo, I like what y'all are doing.
See, the worst thing they could do is just ask you a question. Why did you say what you
said? Yeah, that's the
and you could have a conversation.
Yeah, more than anything, it's more like a conversation starter. You know what I'm saying? There's always something to speak about.
But yeah, this has been episode 25. Shout out to Mr. Nkewu for coming through.
You know?
See you guys next week.
Nkululeko, my brother.
Yes, sir.
We out of here.
Yeah, no, we out.
Ooh.